Greetings and good evening to you, beautiful people of planet Earth. It has been an extremely hot day today. It's been over 110 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's about 45 degrees here. I saw some pictures of people measuring temperatures of 52 degrees, so look, it was hot and I'm glad it's over. But more importantly, I'm coming to you tonight to share an example, a recent example of an answered prayer. I've actually shared this on my Patreon with my beloved Patreons a couple of weeks ago, or last week, around that time anyway, and I'd like to share it with you now. But first of all, I just want to point out a couple of things. I feel like the Lord is pressing on me to share this about the power of prayer. And I speak about this and touch on this a lot because we live in a crazy world right now. And the power of your prayers should be of importance and should be underscored and highlighted, because I cannot emphasize it enough, the power of prayer and how you're simply not just saying a prayer and hoping it's answered and simply just asking for things. But when you pray, you are a conscious participant in the fundamental creative force of the universe. Like your prayers are literally changing the spiritual framework and the network of how things turn out. Outcomes change because of prayer. Things change because of prayer. And depending on the type of prayer that you pray, depends on what the outcome and what the result is. And the power of the prayer, how much focus and energy has gone into that prayer, and emotion and authenticity, and how much, I guess, how much energy is being put into that prayer depends on the outcome. For example, if you are saying a prayer weak prayers, if you're saying a prayer that is weak, a weak prayer would be classified as something pertaining that you want to win the cross lotto and live in a $1 million mansion, and you want this and you want that, and that is a weak prayer. That is a weak prayer because it is service to self. It's self-indulgent. It's not thinking of others. It's purely just based on what you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it would be a weak prayer. When you pray for healing, it's a different type of prayer. It's a different energy. It's a different petition. When you are praying, though, so you've got your weak prayers, and then you've got your really strong, powerful prayers. And the most powerful prayers that people could be praying for is those that are compassionate, and you are praying for somebody else. You are praying for someone else's healing, or in an emergency situation. There's all types of prayers and there's all types of responses. It just depends on the type of prayer that it is. And weak prayers also that are just full of fanciful words. So If you have been reading the Bible ever since you were a kid and it was like literally indoctrinated into you, um, there's and you know, there's no substance to that. You're reading fanciful words, and there's no depth, there's no emotionality attached to them. That would be a weak prayer as well. But if there's anything to take away from this, it's knowing that you are a participant, whether you know it or not. But as soon as you petition and make a request to the spirit world, you are asking for an audience from the divine realms, from God, for something to happen. And so you must be very conscious of the words you use, and mean it when you say a prayer. So I'd like to give you an example of a prayer that was recently answered for me. And actually, I keep a prayer journal now. So I write down the prayer journal. I write down the prayer in the journal with the date, and when it's answered, I highlight it, and then on the opposite page, I've got a blank page where I put in, you know, brief notes of actually what happened and how it was answered. So I can keep track of the prayers and when I put them out and how often or how frequently I have prayed for them. But in my mind, every single prayer is heard, and you have an audience with God 24/7, 365 days. Every single moment of your life, you have an audience with the Lord. So the timing in which these are answered, if it's the will of God, there's a few conditions on that, because you've got to remember the divine realm, the realm of God, knows what's best for you. So if something is not conducive for your plan or your path, it's not going to be answered in the way that you are consciously hoping that it will be. But just know that every time you open a prayer, you are literally opening an audience with God, and you are petitioning for something to happen and change in your life or somebody else's life. So I'll give you a little example. So my girlfriend has had one of my great friends has had a hard time recently. She lost her mother 6 months ago or thereabouts, and a couple of weeks ago she lost her sister. And without going into the details, she was struggling, really struggling emotionally, and I could feel that in her emails. At the time, she was in the Western Australia region, and she would swim in the ocean every single day within a shark net and would swim kilometers. That's just, she's fit as a fiddle, and that is just what she loved to do. And so as much as it perturbed me, and I would never, you know, do something like that, I just have no attraction to that. Although I admire her for doing that, I would never do that. And she always knew my reservations of being out in the deep blue ocean, but she has the greatest respect for Mother Earth and the ocean. Anyway, she loves nothing more than to swim in the ocean, especially when she's going through a hard time, like losing her immediate family. The ocean gives her healing and nurturing and a sense of peace and comfort. I know how much she loves it. And so I wanted to pray for her, and on her behalf, I said a prayer to the Lord, and I petitioned the Lord to please give her relief in her time of need and hardship right now. But my prayer, it had conditions, and I apologized to the Lord, and I said, look, Lord, I know this is, you know, this is might seem a strange request, but I was wondering if you could give my friend some type of healing and peace and well-being come over her by the way of a close encounter in the ocean. I'm not talking about a shark, but I'm talking about, because she loves when she swims if she's ever seen dolphins. It's rare, but, dolphins in a distance, or I don't think she's ever seen whales when she swam, but, seals, dolphins, like big sea life. It's a big deal. And she feels good when she sees that. But I had asked the Lord, could you please give her some kind of close encounter with marine life that will heal her and nurture her. And then I said to the Lord, I said, can it be big enough that she will email me back and tell me about it so I know the prayer has been answered? And also, Lord, so I'm still going. And I said, and also, can this be done by the 22nd of January? I'm sorry for the conditions, Lord, but she's flying back to London on the 22nd. I had said this prayer, I've written it down on the 18th of January. And, I really prayed it with my heart and soul with all these conditions. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? It's a tall order, but with God, everything's possible. And so I had the complete faith that should it be God's will, it will happen. And so I put it to bed, put it in my prayer journal, and let it go. Gave it to God and the universe and the higher forces, to let it be as it's meant to. 2 days later, 20th of January, I get a frantic email from my friend. And she's like, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what's happened. And by the way, she has no idea that I prayed for her. I wouldn't tell her. I wouldn't dream of telling her. This is a private communion between me and the Lord. But she says to me, you're not going to believe what's happened. She said, I was out swimming, out in the ocean this morning. And all of a sudden, she said, this huge seal over 4 feet long swam right underneath her belly and followed her as she swam underneath her. And she said, this is so weird. This has never happened. And when the seal came so fast and quickly under me, she said, I had felt the most immense peace and calm. And she said she felt well-being and she felt amazing and she was so excited. And it was only after the encounter that she started feeling like, oh, what happens if this seal's been chased by a shark? How did this seal get into the shark net? So this is a huge seal that has somehow got through this shark net. I'd say it is the miracles of the Lord working through her life. And when she told me this, I kid you not, I almost fell off my chair. I thought, you have got to be kidding me, Lord. Oh, look, as soon as I got that email, I prayed and thanked the Lord and worshiped the Lord so much. I could not believe this had happened. I mean, it just goes to show when you have a steadfast faith in the Lord, everything and anything is possible. So this was just incredible. I mean, I laughed, I had tears in my eyes. Oh, I was so moved by this encounter. I thought, I have got to tell her. I've got to tell her this. I've got to tell her that I've actually prayed. So this happened on the 20th and she was leaving on the 22nd. So not only did the Lord answer my prayer by giving her a close encounter with a seal swimming under her inside a shark net and filling her with this sense of peace and calm and healing, but it happened before the 22nd of January. I mean, I was blown away. And so I responded with an email saying, look, I've got to tell you, but I actually prayed to the Lord that the Lord would give you some type of close encounter with marine life to heal you and to help you in your time of need. And I went into the detail with her saying, oh, I asked the Lord to have it before the 22nd of January and all these other things. And she was shook. She was shook. You know, she does believe in God, but she's a very pragmatic person, and you know, like it's like I don't want to say, oh, she's not into it as much as I am, but do you know what I mean? Like she doesn't I don't know, like she's a little skeptic. She's a little skeptic. And, you know, tries to figure out like a rational meaning or, you know, a reason for why it happened on this, you know, in a way, you know, like, so she does believe, obviously she believes now, but, and she believed prior, but I mean, it was just so uncanny. It was so uncanny, and it's never happened to her before. And you can try and weigh up all the variables, but the fact of the matter is that I petitioned the Lord for this to happen, and He made it happen before the time cut off. In every way, all the conditions were met, and just phenomenal, phenomenal. And this is the power of prayer. All you need to do is simply request an audience with the Lord and speak as if you have an audience and you are sitting in front of God, and talk normally. Like, I don't say any fancy words, but I speak from the heart. When I say prayer, I speak from the heart. And it can be at my altar, it can be, I said this prayer on my knees for her. I said this prayer on my knees next to my computer desk. So I wasn't even in front of my altar. When all the conditions of the prayer are met, like when the emotion and when the meaning and when the power behind the prayer, all the conditions are met, it is, I mean, everything is heard, but your prayers are going to be answered. They're going to be answered. And man, I was just so moved by this that I wanted to share this experience with you, that if perhaps, you know, you're struggling with your own faith in a higher power, in the God force, I'm letting you know that it is real and it's life-changing. And there's other, you know, experiences that I've had with other friends with prayers being answered that I have shared on my channel. But I wanted to share this with you. And although I'm not religious, my love and my faith and my devotion to Lord Jesus is unwavering and steadfast. And He saved my life in April 2023, and ever since then, it's everything's changed. Of course, it's changed, and my beliefs are still not conventional by any means. You cannot pigeonhole me, but as long as my faith and my love in the Lord is steadfast, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. It's a personal relationship with the Lord, not a religious one. Love you guys.